Brave female Ukrainian soldiers, mirroring their male counterparts, weathered painful punishments and covert operations. They described the brutal tactics employed by Russian forces, including beatings with hammers, electric shocks, and the horrifying practice of pouring boiling water over victims. And what about rapes? Sometimes one-on-one, and sometimes in large groups. If you're a female Ukrainian soldier captured by the Russians, you have a serious problem. Then you would rather have died on the battlefield. What lies behind the curtain of wartime cruelty, especially the harrowing reality faced by female Ukrainian soldiers at the hands of Russian forces? These are the shocking, painful punishments insane Russians do to female Ukrainian soldiers. Welcome to a fascinating discussion about the punishments imposed on female Ukrainian soldiers that stretch the boundaries of what was possible. A narrative that reminds us that tough times only serve to fortify our fortitude. What were some of the horrifying acts that the Russians committed against captured female soldiers? Let's start the journey that lays bare the disturbing layers and find out the war crime allegations surrounding Russian forces. These claims resonate like chilling echoes, painting a grim picture on a modern-day struggle haunted by the ghosts of the past. Accusations have swirled around President Vladimir Putin's Russian troops like a storm, alleging an array of chilling crimes. Among them, a female Ukrainian soldier reportedly experienced days of relentless assault, while others were reportedly choked with gas masks, which paints a disturbing portrait of their actions. According to a human rights group, there were allegations of widespread torture and war crimes, revealing the dark underbelly of Russia's actions against Ukraine. Russian soldiers found themselves in the spotlight, facing allegations of committing a string of shocking crimes. An alleged rape of a Ukrainian soldier over 3 consecutive days, and the unsettling act of choking prisoners with gas masks are only the tip of the iceberg. The female soldier subjected to the 3-day ordeal faded into the shadows. In the aftermath, she was left wondering if there was any more suffering to be endured, as if life's bucket of suffering had been emptied. Dignity, a Danish anti-torture group, has brought forth these accusations against the Russian army, providing alarming new data that presents a clear picture. The painful story of a military volunteer in Mariupol, Ukraine, serves as one of the claims. She was forcibly taken from her cell and subjected to 5 months of torture, a case that unfolds in vivid, shocking hues, leaving an imprint as haunting as a ghost's whisper. According to the harrowing statement the volunteer provided to Dignity, she was tightly bound, silenced with a cruel gag, and subjected to merciless beatings and rapes. As per her description, a terrifying sequence occurred. First, she felt an electrical wire tighten around her throat until consciousness released its hold, and then she felt the shock of the frigid water break her awareness like shattered glass. It was as if she was being continually thrown into a nightmare abyss with each iteration of this demonic ritual. The unidentified woman remembered that on the 3rd morning she had begged her tormentors to end her suffering and said that she had nothing else to say. An unsettling exchange resulted in a reaction. Over a distant link, one of the tormentors displayed her as if she was a ghostly exhibit, while the speaker on the other end simply nodded silently in agreement. But in spite of this pleading, her captors ignored the order, and their reply was an evil echo that echoed, "Wait, it's too soon. You haven't yet traveled through all 7 circles of hell." As this prisoner's account unfolds, it becomes apparent that the haunting cries of a female soldier's anguish were not isolated. Instead, they were just a fraction of the countless, helpless pleas that reverberated within the prison's confining walls. A prisoner incarcerated in Zaporizhzhia unraveled an even more appalling account amidst these horrifying testimonies. The heartbreaking cries of a female soldier's misery, an infernal symphony that lasted across 3 sunrises, echoed throughout my prison. She suddenly vanished into an eerie silence, leaving me plagued by a cloud of uncertainty. Where did she vanish? Like a ghost fading into the mist? Was her fate sealed like a chapter ending in darkness? Or did an unforeseen twist await her? Russian soldiers had placed gas masks on prisoners' heads, deliberately depriving them of oxygen until they were on the verge of unconsciousness. The prisoners were then given a chance to breathe, but it wasn't out of any sense of compassion. Rather, it was a calculated move to ensure the continuation of their torment. What torture did Serhiy Mak face at the hands of his captors? And how did his horrifying experience escalate into a nightmare series of events? Serhiy Mak, a Kherson resident, recounted his agonizing experience. He stated, They subjected me to excruciating torture spanning 5 days. They lashed me with a cable, thrashed me with a charger's wire, fitted a gas mask on me, and strangled me. He went on to share that on the 6th day, a foreboding promise was made that he would perform better the following day. Subsequently, a device designed for electrocution was produced. The torturous ordeal went on for an hour. Additionally, a gun was placed against his temple and its trigger was pulled. The media reported meticulously details more than 700 instances of human rights violations, including 152 cases of torture and inhumane treatment. The report revealed the dark underbelly where torture is wielded like a sinister tool within official detention domains. Its purpose was to extract confessions like secrets pried from clenched fists. It cast a shadow of fear like a relentless phantom, and it aimed to shape compliance as if molding iron to the will of the Russian authority. The Russians did not stop torturing people in the confines of the prison. Their use of torture went beyond prison walls and penetrated secret detention facilities. The terrifying depths of their power-hungry reach have penetrated even the secret corners of captivity. Their objective was to identify individuals who could potentially pose a challenge to the regime or demonstrate pro-Ukrainian sentiment. Furthermore, lack of cooperation was also met with penalties. What forms of physical and psychological torture were inflicted on the victims? We were able to see numerous sorts of torture in these situations. Physical abuse, including beatings, electroshocks, and suffocation techniques, was frequent. Psychological suffering was also common. They had a variety of tactics at their disposal, including threats of death, mock executions, and harm to the victims' families. Has the dosage of torture inflicted on captives decreased in modern times compared with the agonies of the past? Sadly, the answer is a resounding no. Witnessing the torture takes on even more sinister dimensions. Let's send an ear to Anna's frightening recollection as she tells the story of terror and suffering. But before we do, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for supports and upcoming videos. In a tranquil, rural area near Kyiv, Anna, 50, recalled a terrifying experience. She and her husband were at home when a foreign soldier stormed in. He forced me to accompany him to a nearby house under the threat of a gun. He gave a direct order: disrobe or I'll shoot. He repeatedly threatened to take her life if she didn't cooperate, and then proceeded to commit the heinous act of rape. Anna went back to her house and found her husband there. She recalled how he attempted to follow her in an effort to defend her, but was hit by a hail of bullets, wounding his abdomen. Both of them sought safety in a nearby house. It was impossible to get her husband to a hospital because of the continuous conflict. Tragically, he passed away from his injuries 2 days later. Gazing upon her fate, she was forced to bear both physical pain and the strong grip of emotional turmoil. Determining which hurt more was a struggle in itself, as both forms of agony left scars that were hard to compare. Anna reached out to the local hospital and received a lifeline of counseling. Not surprising at all. Hold your breath for another alarming account waiting just around the corner from Anna's place. A grim saga unfolds as allegations point towards a woman's tragic demise. Tragically, her life was taken from her at the hands of the same man who assaulted Anna. Neighbors act as the puzzle's grim witnesses, their claims creating a sinister link between two horrible events. According to neighbors, this woman in her 40s was a captured Ukrainian soldier held captive on a nearby property. Gruesome stories circulate that this brave soldier was raped and abused for a week long. For days, these vile beasts unleashed their needs on Ukrainian women and abused their power to commit war crimes. Once the well-decorated room became a disturbing crime scene. There were large bloodstains on the mattress and duvet. In one corner, a mirror bears a note inscribed in lipstick, seemingly marking the grim path to the victim's final resting place. These women faced a terrible fate amid the backdrop of war. Some of them walked on the edge of near-death experiences, their steps skirting the line between life and death. Some of these women wished they were dead and did not have to go through this. It is to be hoped that this and all wars in the world will end soon and the suffering of innocent civilians will be punished. May justice prevail and all war criminals be apprehended. As we wrap up this exploration of shocking wartime atrocities, one might wonder, could there be even more stories hiding behind the curtain of battle? Don't miss out on our updates. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications. Thank you for joining us in exploring these painful truths. Comment below.